The HRBP or HR business partner concept has been in vogue for the last several decades. The idea of the HRBP is obviously to align people's strategy with business strategy, both at a high level and also for different teams and business units. So the person who is staffed to be the HRBP has to bring a variety of skills to the table. But of late, there is a growing notion that while most companies are adopting this model, they are not adequately training and staffing the people playing this role. And as a result of which, the value that the role has to deliver to the business is not always coming through. How do we solve for this? What are the ways to ensure that the role is delivering the value that it needs to deliver? Let's close the loop on this. Joining me on Close the Loop is Shailesh Banaeeth. Shailesh is the Global CHRO of Cybernetik. Welcome to the show, Shailesh.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So, Shailesh, HRBP has been around for a long time. But I'll start with this question that does every company require this HRBP model?
Yeah. So let's start with this. As we know that it's an old concept, but right now it is getting a lot of traction. And somewhere we can say that which is required from looking at the current business scenario. But whether all the organization should need HRBP, if you will ask me from a thought process perspective, yes, every organization should have an HRBP. But if you talk about the role or maybe the designation per se, then we need to think on that ground. So for me, HRBP, the HR business partnering is a thought process. It is not a designation or a role.
Right.
Because if you put a designation or a role, and if it is not clearly defined from the organization perspective, and even the person who is getting hired or we are putting in that HRBP role, if the person is not properly skilled or the person is not ready to change his thought process, which is aligning to the business partnering model,
right,
then it creates a chaos for the organization, and it is not good for the person who is playing that role.
That's an interesting point because I've seen I've worked with a lot of HRBPs, and what I find is that while structurally, yes, they're there and they're announced as they are the partner for your team and all of that, but somehow they never have that voice. They don't, not all of them have an understanding of what your team does, what your business does, and therefore they sort of become note takers or they just become execution arm of the business. Do you see that happening a lot in the industry?
Yes. Normally what happens is organizations, they just create this HRBP because everybody is doing it.
So it's a kind of a trend.
Yeah, it's a kind of a trend because everywhere it's we have our HRBP, and there is an HRBP model what we are running. And it is also good to attract the talent. But more or less what happens people end up having a HR generalist role, which is more of an operational or an administrative kind of work. And they call themselves as an HRBP. Now the point what you have rightly raised, that whether their voice has been heard. Now when you want your voice to heard, you need to have a lot of data analysis, then also have an understanding of multiple functions. So from an HR perspective, your knowledge is required, but the major challenge comes in when HR they don't leave being an HR. So every time if you want to be an HR and you're looking at the business from the HR point of view, then it becomes a problem.
Right.
So you need to, as an HR person, you need to look at the organization from the business perspective. So once you,
for which you need to have an understanding.
Yeah, you need to have an understanding of the business, because a major thing from the HR point of view is if you really want to be an HRBP, first study your business. What is the business model? You need to understand who are your customers, why they are your customers, and why they should pay your organization to do their job.
In fact, very interesting that you mentioned that. I was just before our chat, I was just googling what is a core skill of an HRBP. The first thing was a deep understanding, not just an understanding, but a deep understanding of you, which I don't think you find in the industry.
Yeah, it creates a problem because you go to like colleges, you do MBA, or when you they'll equip you with the HR knowledge. But now when
what if you specialize in HR? Even then, you're not trained to be like an HR. There is no training for an HRBP, right?
that is what I'll say, because nowadays there are a lot of courses and maybe the external trainings are coming in. But still, I'll say that all these things are external. So as an HR business partner, it comes to it should come from within. That and it comes when you start thinking like a business person. Because what if you talk to any business person, what are the major things, or maybe if you talk to a CEO, what are the top of his thought process, what is going to be? It's like how to get the business, how to make the business profitable, how to have a strong bottom line, and how to have a better top line.
Right.
So all these things, and if you start talking these terms to HR, then it becomes like something alien language is coming in picture. So it creates a problem.
Right.
So that's why you need to have that understanding, because once you start getting from where the money is coming, because businesses runs on money, you need to have that.
I agree, but I would argue it. Let me argue it the other way. Like as an HRBP, I would argue that I don't know what success looks like. Like if I'm a head of talent acquisition, then I know what success looks like for me. If let's say I'm in charge of learning and development, I know what success looks like for me.
Okay.
What does success look like for HRBP?
So success for an HRBP is like if you are catering to a particular business.
Let's say sales team.
Okay.
Sales team ka HRBP.
Yes. So from a sales team's HRBP perspective, you need to see that how many orders your sales people are getting, and now when you are talking to them, how you are like how well they are equipped with the kind of skill sets what is required, the kind of data they will require. Because whenever a sales person is going in the market, what they are selling. So if it is like we are talking about the IT, they are selling the skills, or maybe the knowledge base what they have.
But this is the kind of question that maybe a head of sales will ask. So you're saying that HRBP also should get into this level of detail?
Yes, because if you are a sales HRBP, you should be on sales call. Try to understand what type of problems they are facing.
But do you see that happening?
Yeah, I have done it myself.
Okay.
So I have been part of, like in my previous organization, I have been part of the sales call. Where the delivery team is talking about the technical thing, sales team is pitching.
Okay, so let's say you're on the call and you develop the understanding. What do you do with that understanding? What are the levers that you impact?
So once you know that like these are the requirement, and this is how as an HRBP it is the major KRA or maybe the target what you need to have, that how you will make your people successful in the marketplace.
Do you feel that the business also doesn't have an understanding of how to use the HRBP? I think do you think business also uses HRBP as अच्छा any people issues, किसी को रोना है तो जाके HRBP के साथ रो. Don't come and cry to me. Do you think business also is guilty of not utilizing people?
Yeah, business is also guilty, but from that perspective, I'll say that it is still a kind of a 80-20 kind of a scenario, because how business should treat you, it's like the more things are in your hand. Once you start adding value, you will always see that business will look for HR. Right. And you will be like invited to a meeting because you will put lot of efforts to ensure like the profitability part. If I am worried about the profitability, being an HRBP, I am worried about the profitability of my business head. He will always want me with him. Then all the freedom you will get, all the access you will get. If the resource allocation is happening, it is not might not be the core competency of HR. But if you have the data, the low cost resources, how you will train them, how the billing can be more, then business will
how people can be redeployed. Skills are not much. I could put this guy into this role, this person into this
how
role.
The upskilling process happen, how what type of cross skill you can do, where people are engaged, or maybe where they're
so you're actually consulting with the business. You're providing the consultation.
Yes, I think this is what you said. It's the main thing, that you don't act as an employee, but be a consultant. Why consultant is valued more? Because they come for a particular time period, but they are there with
the insight and the
insight and the objective. And we know that if we work with the consultant, my problems are going to get solved.
Right.
I'll be more profitable, or maybe there will be leakages which are happening at a multiple level. Those will be identified, and we know that how to seal them. So that's how it works.
What are some of the practical things that people in this role, like everyone talks about seat at the table. There's a ready-made seat at the table.
Yeah.
You have the seat at the table.
Yes.
But if you have to use it effectively, what are a few things that you recommend to all the HR people who are doing the HRBP role out there?
So, if we will talk from the HR perspective, if you really want to become an HRBP, first start thinking from a business angle. One thing is like, if you know that how the business is running, who are the key players, how like you can help the business heads. Maybe your KRAs should be derived more from the business heads KRA sheet rather than having it from the HR perspective.
The functional sheet.
Yeah, so it can be a kind of if it is possible and if it is properly valued from the business side as well. So it can be a say a matrix style of reporting you can have. So as an HR, it is a risk because a lot of things will be on stake. But whether you will be able to take that risk. And at the end of the day, you need to see the business requirement which is coming in from the customer side, and how your people are prepared for that. So that preparation, how it the both things will match, and you will have a win-win situation.
Okay.
So that is the part what an HRBP.
And finally, what can the business do to get the best out of the HRBP if they're not up to?
So from the business perspective, I'll say that if you really need the real HRBP sense, let HR be a part of the business meetings. Let them understand. Spend some time with them to ensure that they are getting a knowledge of the overall business model, how it runs, who is who, and who are your critical players, why they are critical, so that the understanding will keep on building from the HR perspective, and don't consider them that they are HR. Consider them that they are your team member, who will help you to get success in future.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for your insights, Shailesh. And I think our audience, especially the HRBPs or people who want to get into this role, will benefit a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for being on Close.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.